If you have been told your whole life that shorter hair is the answer after 60, I need you to stop for just one moment before your next salon appointment, because the advice you have been following, the advice almost every woman over 60 has been following, might be the single biggest reason your face looks heavier, your neck looks shorter, and your whole appearance reads as older than you actually are. And by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly which lengths are quietly aging you, which ones lift your face and frame it beautifully, and the number one length that stylists almost never suggest to women our age. But should. That one comes last. Do not skip ahead. Here is what nobody in the beauty industry wants to say out loud. The idea that short hair automatically looks younger after 60 is one of the most persistent myths in women's styling. And it is costing women years, not saving them. The truth is far more interesting and far more freeing, because the right length, chosen for your specific face shape, your specific hair texture, and the specific changes that come with age, can do more for your appearance than almost any product, treatment, or procedure you have ever tried. We are counting down 6 lengths today, from the ones that help the least to the one that helps the most. And along the way, I am going to show you exactly why the wrong length works against you, and exactly how the right one works for you. Small changes, no surgery, no expensive treatments, just an honest conversation about length that your stylist probably never had with you. Before we get into number 6, I want to plant one idea that is going to reframe everything you hear today. Your face changes shape slightly as you age. The jawline softens. The area around the cheeks loses a little volume. The neck and the space just below the chin begins to look different than it did 20 years ago. A great haircut length does not fight those changes. It frames around them. It draws the eye upward, toward your eyes and your cheekbones, and away from the areas that have softened. And a bad length does the exact opposite. It pulls the eye downward. It creates heaviness where you do not want heaviness. It mirrors the softness of the face instead of cutting against it. Once you understand that principle, you will never look at a haircut length the same way again. Number 6, the very short crop. I want to be careful here, because I'm not saying short hair is always wrong. What I am saying is that for most women over 60, the very short crop, shorter than 2 inches all over, cut close to the head, is working against them far more often than it is working for them. And here is why almost no one explains this properly. When hair is very short and very close to the head, the entire silhouette of the face becomes the dominant visual. Every line, every contour, every change in the jawline is fully exposed. There is nothing there to frame, to soften, or to redirect the eye. For a woman with a very strong, angular bone structure, this can be striking. For most women whose faces have softened naturally with age, it tends to emphasize exactly the areas we would prefer to downplay. Here is the other thing about very short crops that tends to surprise women. They require significantly more maintenance than medium or longer lengths. You are back in the salon every 4 to 5 weeks, or the shape loses its precision entirely, and the whole look collapses. And a collapsed very short crop reads as neglected rather than intentional. The irony is that the cut chosen for low maintenance ends up being the highest maintenance of all. If you love your very short crop and it genuinely makes you feel like yourself, keep it. But if you chose it because someone told you short hair is just what women do after 60, there is a whole world of length options you have not been shown yet. And the next one is where we start to see things shift. Number 5. The one-length bob that hits above the ear. You have seen this cut. You may have worn this cut. It sits right at or just above the earlobe, cut in one clean, even line all the way around. It looks tidy. It looks manageable. And for most women over 60, it is quietly one of the most aging lengths available. Here is the problem, and it comes down to geometry. When hair ends above the ear, it draws a hard horizontal line right across the widest part of the lower face. That line sitting right where the jaw begins to soften does not frame the face. It boxes it. It creates a visual boundary that makes the lower face look heavier, the jaw look shorter, and the neck look compressed. You are essentially putting a bracket around the exact area you want the eye to move past quickly. There is also a texture problem with this length that most stylists never mention. Hair that hits above the ear has almost no weight to it. And without weight, fine or thinning hair, which is very common after 60, has nothing to hold on to. The ends flip, the shape inflates, and by mid-afternoon you are fighting a silhouette that looks more like a helmet than a haircut. You deserve better than that. And the women I see make this switch, moving just an inch or two longer, are consistently shocked by how much difference that small change makes. Which brings us to number 4, and this is where things start getting genuinely exciting. Number 4, the chin length bob, and why it almost works, but not quite. Now, I want to be precise here because the chin length bob gets recommended constantly for women over 60, and it is not wrong exactly. It is just incomplete advice. A bob that ends precisely at the chin can be beautiful, but the word precisely is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, because where exactly the chin-length bob ends matters enormously depending on your face shape, and most women are wearing it at the wrong point on their chin without knowing it. A bob that ends at the very bottom of the chin, right at the jawline, tends to widen the appearance of the lower face. It ends where the jaw is broadest, which means it is drawing attention directly to that area, rather than guiding the eye past it. What tends to work significantly better is ending the cut just below the chin, half an inch to an inch past the jawbone, which allows the hair to curve slightly inward, frame the jaw rather than matching it, and create a cleaner line underneath. That distinction sounds almost impossibly small. It is not. In before and after photos, this half inch can look like 10 years. The other piece that almost nobody mentions about the chin-length bob is the interior shape. A chin bob with no internal layering whatsoever can lie completely flat against the face, which makes the jawline look heavier. You want the internal weight removed, not visible layers on the surface, but quiet thinning underneath that lets the ends curl slightly inward and lift rather than drag straight down. That interior work is what turns an average chin-length bob into something that looks genuinely expensive and intentional. The next length on our list is the one that causes the most disagreement, and honestly, the most surprise. Number 3, the long bob, also called the lob, and why most women are wearing it at the wrong length. The lob is everywhere right now, and for good reason. It is versatile, it is modern, and it is genuinely flattering when it is at the right point. The most common version sits right at the collarbone, and this is also the version that tends to work the least well for women over 60. Here is why, and this is the backwards reveal I want you to sit with for a moment. Conventional wisdom says that as women age, they should go shorter. So the collarbone lob feels like a compromise. Not too short, not too long. It feels like a responsible, age-appropriate choice. But the collarbone is almost always exactly the wrong place to end a haircut after 60. The collarbone is where your shoulders begin to broaden visually. Hair ending right there draws a horizontal line across that area, which makes the shoulders look wider and the neck look shorter. It connects two horizontal elements, the shoulder line and the hair length, in a way that creates a visual block rather than a visual flow. What works far better is a lob that ends either 2 inches above the collarbone or 2 inches below it. 2 inches above keeps the neck long and visible, frames the face cleanly, and avoids the shoulder connecting problem entirely. 2 inches below the collarbone allows the hair to fall past that shoulder zone and let the lines of the cut flow downward, rather than stopping abruptly at the widest point. Both of those versions outperform the collarbone lob almost every time. The question is, which one is right for you? And the answer depends on your specific texture, your lifestyle, and whether you tend to wear your hair up or down. If you almost always wear your hair pulled back or pinned up, you are not actually wearing the lob at all. You are wearing a ponytail with a lot of extra length hanging below it. And that brings me to number 2, which is the length that surprises everyone, including a lot of stylists. Number 2, mid-back length. The length that women over 60 almost never consider, and the length that changes everything when they do. I know what you are thinking. Long hair after 60? Is that really appropriate? And I want to address that thought directly, because it is exactly the kind of limiting belief that has kept women from one of the most youthful, most flattering, most face-lifting options available to them. Long hair. Genuinely long hair reaching the middle of the back. When it is healthy, when it moves, and when it is cut with the right long layers, is not aging. It is extraordinary. Here is the truth about long hair and aging that nobody in the mainstream beauty conversation is saying clearly enough. Length, when combined with movement and good layering, creates a vertical line. A vertical line always reads as elongating, slimming, and youthful. It pulls the eye downward along the body, rather than stopping it at the face or the shoulders. And on a woman with silver or gray hair, which many women over 60 have, long hair has a quality that shorter hair simply cannot replicate. It moves. It catches light. It has presence. Think about the women you have seen, perhaps in photographs, perhaps in your own life, whose long silver hair stopped you in your tracks. There is a reason for that reaction. It is not just beauty in the conventional sense. It is the combination of texture, movement, and presence that creates something genuinely striking. The mistake most women make with long hair after 60 is not the length itself. It is wearing it without layers, which turns it flat and heavy, or wearing it with too many visible choppy layers, which makes it look sparse and damaged. The solution is long, soft, face-framing layers that begin around the cheekbones and travel gently all the way to the ends. Those layers keep the weight of the hair distributed evenly, allow the ends to move rather than hang, and create that all-important vertical line that makes everything look lifted. If you have been told long hair is not for women your age, I want you to seriously consider whether that advice was given by someone who understood aging hair, or simply someone who believed the myth that short is always younger. Because the evidence, in salon chairs, in photographs, in the women who make this switch, every single week, tells a very different story. Now, I want to revisit number 2, mid-back length, because I know some of you heard that one and immediately thought it was not for you. And I want to push back on that reaction gently, because the resistance most women feel around genuinely long hair after 60 is almost never about the hair itself. It is about a story they were told somewhere along the way, a comment from a partner, a suggestion from a stylist who meant well but thought in shortcuts, a cultural assumption that long hair past a certain age is somehow trying too hard, or clinging to something, or not quite appropriate. I want you to examine where that belief came from, because the women I have seen make the switch to longer hair after 60, truly committing to growing it out, caring for it properly, wearing it with the right layers and the right color, are consistently among the most striking, most memorable, most put-together women I have encountered in 30-plus years of working with hair. There is nothing about long, healthy, well-styled hair that reads as inappropriate. There is everything about it that reads as intentional, confident, and fully alive. The key word in all of that is healthy. And this is where I want to spend a moment, because long hair after 60 requires a slightly different care approach than it did at 40. Aging hair, as you may have noticed, tends to be drier than it used to be. The scalp produces less natural oil over time, which means the ends, especially on longer hair, are not getting the same conditioning from your scalp that they once did. This is why a weekly deep conditioning treatment is not optional if you are wearing longer hair after 60. It is the difference between hair that looks long and vibrant and hair that looks long and tired. A lightweight leave-in conditioner applied from mid-length to the ends, a weekly mask or treatment, and trimming the ends faithfully every 8 to 10 weeks. These 3 habits are what separate long hair that turns heads from long hair that reads as neglected. The cut matters. The care matters just as much. Now, I promised you the #1 length at the very beginning of this video. The one that stylists almost never suggest for women over 60. The one that takes more years off the face than any of the others. You have waited for it. Here it is, #1. The shoulder-grazing length. The most overlooked, most transformative length for women over 60 in existence. Not the collarbone, not 2 inches above it, not mid-back. The exact point where the hair just grazes the top of the shoulder, sitting at or within 1 inch above the shoulder line. This length is almost never recommended to women our age. It sits in an awkward middle zone between the lob and genuinely long hair, and most stylists skip right past it when they are mentally organizing their options. That is a profound mistake, and here is exactly why. When hair ends at the shoulder, something specific happens to the way the eye reads the face and the neck. The shoulder itself acts as a natural horizontal ledge. Hair that ends right there connects gently to the shoulder, rather than stopping above it or falling past it. This connection creates a soft visual continuation from the neck downward that makes the neck appear longer, the jawline appear lifted, and the face appear more oval, regardless of what your actual face shape is. The shoulder-grazing length is also the single best length for managing the most common hair challenge women over 60 face, which is volume at the crown. Hair that is too short does not have enough weight to lie flat, so it inflates and puffs. Hair that is too long pulls downward from the root and eliminates crown volume entirely. Hair that hits the shoulder has exactly the right amount of weight to stay close to the head, through the crown, while still having enough movement and presence to look alive and intentional. It is a Goldilocks length, and almost no one is talking about it. Style it straight and sleek for a polished look. Add a soft inward bend at the ends for warmth and femininity. Toss it with a texturizing spray for a weekend look that reads as effortless, rather than trying too hard. Wear it half up with a simple clip to show off your earrings and elongate the neck. This single length gives you more styling versatility than almost any other option on this list. There is also a practical reality about this length that matters enormously for women over 60. It is genuinely manageable. You do not need a blow-dryer marathon to look presentable. You do not need to be back in the salon every 4 weeks to maintain the shape. A trim every 8 to 10 weeks keeps the ends healthy and the shape clean. And because the length has enough weight to behave well on its own, you are working with your hair rather than fighting it every single morning. The secret that ties all 6 of these lengths together is not actually about the number of inches. It is about understanding that every length is in a conversation with your face, your neck, your shoulders, and your texture. The right length for you is the one that frames upward, creates vertical lines rather than horizontal ones, works with your natural texture rather than against it, and gives the eye something beautiful to follow from your face all the way down. That combination, when you find it, does not just change your hair. It changes how you stand. It changes how you feel when you catch your reflection in a window. It changes the first impression you make before you have said a single word. A quick note about color before we close. Because length and color are always in conversation, and getting one right, while getting the other wrong, is like wearing a perfectly tailored jacket over the wrong dress. Whatever length you choose from today's list, avoid going too uniformly light all the way through. Hair that is one flat, even tone. Regardless of whether that tone is blonde, silver, or anything in between, loses dimension and makes the face look flatter. What creates genuine vibrancy is contrast. A little depth close to the root, gradually lightening toward the mid-lengths and ends, gives the hair the same kind of 3-dimensional quality that good lighting gives a photograph. It makes the color look intentional. It makes the cut look more expensive, and it makes you look more awake, more present, and more alive. Which is exactly what every length on this list is designed to do as well. If you have worn the same length for years, or if you chose your current length because someone simply told you it was appropriate, I want to gently invite you to reconsider. Not because there is anything wrong with you, not because you made a mistake, but because you now have information you did not have before. And information changes everything. The most beautiful chapter of your life is not behind you. It is right now, and your hair should reflect that. Which of these 6 lengths surprised you the most? Leave me a comment below. I read every single one, and your response might just inspire the next video. I also want to address something that comes up in my comment section regularly, and I imagine it has crossed your mind too. What about face shape? Does the right length depend entirely on whether your face is oval or round or heart-shaped or square? The honest answer is, face shape matters, but it matters less than most people think, and it has been wildly overcomplicated. The basic principle underneath all the face shape advice is actually very simple. You want length and softness where your face is narrowest, and you want clean lines and volume where your face needs the most structure. For almost everyone, that translates to the same general principle. Length that travels past the jaw, layers that frame the face from the cheekbones downward, and softness around the perimeter rather than a rigid geometric shape. When you follow those principles, the specific label of your face shape becomes almost secondary, because you are working with the proportions of your actual face, not a diagram in a magazine. The one exception worth mentioning is a very long, narrow face, where too much length can accentuate the vertical line of the face in a way that feels elongating rather than flattering. Which of these 6 lengths surprised you the most? Leave me a comment below. I read every single one, and your answer might just inspire the next video.